So our next presenter will be Dr. Stephan Holzer, a Harvard graduate and co-founder of Patron of Art platform. And he will be talking to us about how NFTs can nurture a new generation of patrons for our museums. So let's welcome Stephan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending my talks about how we can engage museums in the NFT and Web3 space. So maybe you already have heard about it, like several museums already did some NFT launches in the past. So actually the first one was the Museum of Liverpool in 2019, where people could bring like items from their own possession, put it next to a object from the museum, take a picture and create an NFT out of it. But the real NFT sales of digital replicas only started around 2021. Like with the Hermitage Museum selling Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo and other NFTs on Binance. And then here we can see also Michelangelo by Uffizi Gallery, then the British Museum. This is maybe the one that is most known, sold the Wave by Hokusai. And also the Belvedere is very well known, where The Kiss by Gustav Klimt, which is actually a painting valued at more than $100 million, was split up in 10,000 items. I mean, digital replicas, not the ownership itself, and was sold, which was also quite successful. And by now, about 20 museums in total entered the space. But there's not really like one platform to facilitate all those tokenizations and NFT sales. And at the same time, many museums have different objectives when creating NFTs. So the main objectives that we see in this area are, on the one hand, raising funds, which is mainly the case in Europe, especially after COVID. Many museums, they had significant financial reductions in revenue because of missing ticket sales. Also in many countries, government funding was reduced. So they're really looking for additional ways to raise funds. Yeah. Like often patrons stepped in, but I think we also need a new generation of patrons, because these patrons are usually a little bit older. And I believe like the Web3 space can also be like a really good way for museums to engage a new generation of patrons. And then some museums, they are well funded, but they also want to reach a younger audience. They want to be innovative as well. So they try to use NFTs for that. I also believe that NFTs can be a great way to help them with conservation. Of course, only the digital replicas of the original paintings, but if you buy an NFT from a museum, you become an ambassador of this NFT, and you are having an interest in conserving this asset. It's not only the burden of the museum to ensure that the digital file is not getting lost, but the collector themselves. They're helping the museum now, which is also very interesting for them. And finally, they can also represent their core values. I mean, these are more like established institutions. They have a long history. They have a lot of traditional art and values that they also would like to bring to the NFT space to shape the future of this NFT space as well. So how does it usually work? You take the digital image of an artwork, you create an NFT out of it, you do the marketing, you do community building, and innovation and retain. And in particular on this part of innovation and retain is what we at Patron of Art are focusing. Of course, we're starting with something simple. Many people criticize it, why do you only do digital replicas? But I think it's an easy first step for museums. You don't need to convince them of doing some games or metaverse experiences, which is also very costly. But here it's the simplest way for museums to enter the NFT space. And then, once we have built the community, we can create new products with them, we can test it with them, figure out what they're interested in. So I also invite all of you to join our community later. Also, here's an example like a detailed example of the KISS by Belvedere Museum. So it was, as you see, split up in 10,000 items. So in some sense, each individual piece is a single artwork itself. Yeah. And now I also want to talk about the projects that we are doing right now. While there are, of course, many other projects outside working with different museums, we really try to build a platform for all museums. And one of the first ones on our platform is the National Art Museum of Ukraine, who actually already entered the NFT space earlier this year, but unfortunately then 2 weeks later, the war started, and we basically acquired the license from their NFT partner, and then we decided to do a charity out of it. We will launch this charity in a few weeks, and you can acquire several masterpieces of Ukrainian artists. So here we have a selection. For example, we have Kozak Mamai, who is really like the national hero of Ukraine. That is demonstrating the people how to fight for their freedom. And I think in these times this is really important, and we are glad that this will be part of the collection that we are launching. Then we have a painting about in the winter in the village of Opishina. This is also a postcard that we are distributing here at NFT.London. Maybe you have already seen it. You can claim this NFT for free, just to show your support for Ukraine and charity and to preserve their culture. And then we have Bridge Serves, which is also one of the big masterpieces of Ukrainian art. All the money that we are raising in this charity will go back to a charity based in Germany that is really focused on preserving art in Ukraine. They already have shipped 20 trucks of equipment to Ukraine in the past. Mainly government funded, like from Germany, but also the Swiss National Emergency Fund contributed to that. And all our funds will basically go to this project to support them. And this is also approved by the National Art Museum of Ukraine. The next NFT drop that is actually live right now is with Lucerne Festival. And this is the most famous festival for classical music in the world. Each year, they have about 30 orchestras from across the world coming to the city of Lucerne to perform. They have about 100 concerts in the summer alone with 70,000 visitors. So for classical music, this is really like a big, big festival. You can compare it a bit to Montreux Festival in jazz, for example. And they always had also very high quality standard for their visual arts. For example, for their posters in the past, they commissioned famous artists and designers. For example, the first one on the left, on the top you see it's Donald Brun, famous Swiss designer who won many international awards. And this particular poster, for example, from 1954, it was even acquired by the MoMA, by the Museum of Modern Arts in New York, and put in their exhibition. And then right below the image, the poster, this was also painted by a female who won actually the gold medal for international poster design. So these are really high quality posters, and if you look closely, you can see a little bit, for example, the aesthetics of CryptoPunks in this poster, which I personally find very interesting. And on the top right, the poster by Niklas Draxler, you can see a little bit the chromey squiggles, but these posters were basically created about 20 years before these other collections. Finally, we also were the main sponsor at the largest museum conference in the world called the ICOM conference. It's the International Council of Museums. About 3,000 museum professionals attended. Half of them were directors of museums. And we did a survey with them. What do you believe, like how many museums will use NFTs in the future in some way? And I was even surprised because the museum space is quite conservative. Turned out that 50% of museums will use NFTs in the future. And so if you believe this as well, and if you like our project, please join our community. You can scan the QR code. Please follow us on Twitter. The handle is Patron of Art NFT. And yes, so if you scan the QR code and you sign up now, you will get a free NFT from us. Actually, like the poster from Donald Prune from Lucerne Festival. And you get the second one, which is the summer in the the winter in the city of Onischai from the National Art Museum of Ukraine. So both are approved by those institutions. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any more questions, please contact me after the presentation. Thank you.